social media or subscribe to social media. We keep on participating in all of the either consciously or unconsciously. Many times when you order food, we end up giving feedback that are satisfied with the food, the service. Now remember, now one of the most important aspect of sentiment mining or opinion mining using AI is live feedback here. Now, earlier times when psephologists, like election managers and all, they always used to take time to give reports, okay, to give us opinion polls and a lot of other results, right? But today, in real time, you will get to know how are these opinions being shaped, and if something is not going good, how can we reshape that narrative? Or in fact, in social sciences, we use, or in political science, or in communication research, we use political communication. How do we communicate? How do we build narrative to change certain outcomes in our favor or in certain political parties' favor? And likewise, many of the aspects also tracks candidates. Manifestos also, speeches today becomes very, very important here. Because many a times these speeches are sometimes clipped, they are being rehashed, and they are being resent, recirculated. And we are also many a times victims of those deep fakes and all. So it's not only just the common citizen in the village or in other places, but we as informed citizens, we also get carried away by many of these opinion, sentiment, making emotions and all. So the most I would really, I was reading these papers a couple of months ago when I was teaching comparative politics in my class of political attitudes. And this paper written in 2023 with regard to Karnataka elections actually is an important, I think it's a very good paper with regard to Indian elections, especially the recent Karnataka elections in 2023. And it really looks into, and the author tries to engage with how sentiments are being framed and what are the sentiment drivers and how did it shape political outcomes here. And if you remember, Karnataka until 2023 May was ruled by the BJP, the NDA, right? But after that, the Congress was nowhere there. It had no chance. But however, some of these studies done by Gunhal actually is very compelling. And I think it is a case study that we can really look in and how it has shaped outcomes in Karnataka. So corruption, and remember, with the same sentiment and opinion making process, you could see more than 73% of voter turnout in Karnataka. And this is very unusual. And although in the southern states, with regard to higher literacy rate, the participation rate is quite high. Nonetheless, this was one of the highest then in the recent past in Karnataka. So they use different metrics, how to look at it. Now they have different models here, and these are all models of, language models that really look into how to track emotions and all. Now, if you look at the accuracy rate, how accuracy of all sentiment classification models that he did and traced. And if you look at this and say these predictions, so the author tries to find it damn dot that the opinion making or sentiment analysis is important, and especially, and use of AI, therefore, is very important there. So, and it becomes so easy for them using this large language. And they were deriving, or, what to say is mostly in social science, we say data mining, crawling on Twitter. Now, not only Twitter, on Hindi platforms, even in Kannadiga languages, English, Hindi, all of them. Because Hindi imposition has a role to play there because it has to be invoked in different languages. So we cannot just focus only on one language. I, as a student of international relations, since I speak Chinese and write Chinese, so I also go into, when India-China conflicts or something happens, I look at both the languages here to look at, to engage with and draw on my conclusions here. the language models here predicted or predicts Congress win. Although this, I think, is one of the most recent and good paper that one can really engage with. I can share you that later if you want it. Likewise, this famous, even although I don't understand Tamil, but nonetheless, when suddenly these deep fakes was being circulated. And many times, whether it is Bihar elections, West Bengal elections, or elections in Punjab, or even national elections in India, you have deep fakes. And suddenly, who are these? Why are these being created? So what are the consumers and who are the consumers of these deep fakes? It is the voters, right? Us. So whether we are informed or not, but still it resonates many a times. Because today, at times, ideology is important, but at the same time, ideology is not sufficient tool to really galvanize interest among voters. Thanks to 1991 neoliberal policy, now we are both a beneficiary and also a victim of neoliberal policy. A lot of technology has really shaped our ideological consciousness, but also it has led us to disenchantment also. Because today, they say that, okay, NPS and OPS debate is always there around the country. Every state wants to impose OPS. That doesn't happen. But what are these debates? We are thanks to this. So if that OPS, suppose if you have to invoke that as a variable to really measure, so in Himachal, they have done it now. But I come from a state of Sikkim. Will Sikkim sustain itself? It's not, because Sikkim is a consumer state. We don't have much resources. Like our folks, our members of the parliament and ministers, cabinet ministers, like having friendly chats with, the so-called attacker. Yeah? So, deep fakes are there. And it is a reason for concern also. However, if you have to look into deepfakes, global affairs, it happens, it shapes political outcomes. Because use of AI, you cannot recreate old pictures, but with the use of AI, you can recreate. And many a times, political parties across the world, they impact. And that is not only in democracies, even in authoritarian states. In 2024, I was visiting China for 15 days for a conference. And I could see AI, deep fakes being used there. And they ridicule everyone, but only themselves. Yeah? So, these are what we see there in liberal democracies or electoral democracies. But if we have to look at public policy now, public policy is one area which is closely related with politics also. Now, if you look at the rule adjudication, or the political outcomes, it is public policy. Now, in India, public policy has many ramifications. Sometimes we talk about smart cities, AI in health. We see a lot of ads on YouTube or television. If you switch it on, okay, there is an AI medical center. You go, you are treated with AI. So what happens? So there is also a discussion with regard to many of clinical, practitioners losing jobs. That routine matters can be dealt with by AI, isn't it? So, like in India, we also have the concept of smart cities. Now, what do we mean by smart cities? Now, whether it is good transport, good infrastructure, good roads, or is it artificial intelligence-led city? Everything, right? And I see smart cities also in China. And every world has been, actually the parts of the different countries are invoking the concept and the idea of smart city. So education, health, education, we are both the beneficiaries. I would again reiterate, education and health. In education, both urbanization, transport and communication, surveillance, defense and security. Now these are all how AI has been quite influential in this. It is an area of convergence, and at the same time it is an area of departure also. Because in education and health, we know what's happened. Today, as I said, like many of the so-called courses have been digitized now. Now, apart from digital, even today, media. In China, you have robots or AI delivering news, reading news for you. Now, recently there was an AI summit in Delhi. Now, although it had a big hullabaloo about different issues, but nonetheless, it actually showed the role of how AI can influence, or the future role of AI can, be so, diverse within our ecosystem, right? Political systems and all. Now, surveillance. I can give you best example of Hyderabad. I think Hyderabad, the amount of CCTV cameras, that was my first shock when I came to Hyderabad in 2020. Likewise, there are also other cities in the country, but Hyderabad, one of our students have written a dissertation, PhD dissertation on surveillance technology in Hyderabad and one's other city. I think he did Delhi is the other one. So as per his studies, I think Hyderabad's density of CCTV cameras is the highest. Now, what does these camera do? It generates what? Data. Now we are talking about generative AI here mostly, right? Now what does the generative data do? Information. And who owns the information? As of now, the government, right? But suppose I have a house somewhere in Gopanpalli or Warangal, so I can fix a CCTV there, and the owner can go anywhere in the world and be there. But even if I'm in States, I can see what is my landlord, my tenant doing in my house, right? So who is the consumer? Private, right? As us. But there are intermediaries there as well, because you use a certain technology to get that, generate that data, right? And who owns that? It is not us. Directly, yes, but the data is also owned by the technology companies, right? And who are these all Silicon Valley big bosses there? Yeah. So that is what. And the other example I want to give is when I went to China in 2024 for 15 days in a conference. There in Beijing, or the capital city, you don't have any policemen, traffic policemen, especially. It is all CCTV-led, AI-controlled systems there. I could hardly see even a single soul. And see, the policemen are mostly in government buildings and Ministry of Affairs, Home Affairs or External Affairs and all. Now, what does that show? That shows the role of how AI is being used. Now AI also is generated from facial recognition. And we, as Indians, we are consumer of Chinese products a lot. So many of our data is being generated, and also it passes on to other countries also. Yeah? And I didn't find a single soul. But at the same time, the AI also can be used in negatively. Surveillance means what? Your individual freedom. We as social scientists, we treasure our individual freedom, right? We like to show certain things, happy things, not something that aches us. So we as social scientists, we love our individual freedom. So, but we also sometimes consciously or unconsciously share a lot of things. So how should we regulate? And AI today actually is a disruptor there. So big data and digital footprints becomes very, very important here. And big data is created by us. Now today we use a lot of apps, whether it's Meta, Instagram, Trend, you have Facebook, Twitter, it goes on. Who owns this? So that is why the government of India is having a lot of problems with these big tech companies, because they don't want to keep their server here. Because all are being harvested by them to the other side of the globe. And they make profits on it. Today, when you want to go and buy insurance, suppose, in the market, you just type insurance, you want what type of insurance. And they will also know that what kind of problems you have also. Because your data is with the hospital today, in the hospital with the other card, you can register. And the other card has all the details there. So the AI has simplified public policy many times, but it's scary as well. Therefore, democratization. Now, recently in Nepal, day before yesterday, a new prime minister is elected. Now let us see Mr. Balen Shah. He's a rapper, a musician, a businessman, now a politician. Now his job, he has hardly given any speeches as a politician. Like in Hindi or in English we say, oh sorry, in Hindi there's a samvad. You know, he has never addressed any newspapers or any, he has only used social media campaign to win elections. Thanks to the younger lot, the Gen Zs, his foot soldiers, they have helped him to win elections, and that's quite a remarkable achievement for him. But how did he do? It is all with regard to social media campaign and artificial intelligence. So many a times when we look at it, we see the roles that they have, have complementary roles to do that. Now, it is the use of AI was disruptive. It led to upheaval. Today, it has also led to transformation. Now, the real task for them is how will they become a rule maker, a rule adjudicator, and also shape other political outcomes and social outcomes here. Likewise, smart city, we love this. Gangtok is a small, the smallest state in the country. Sikkim, Gangtok, we have less than 7 lakh population. Yeah, and I think 7 lakh is here in, more than in Gachibowli has more than 15 lakhs, I guess. So that state has couple of cities marked as smart city project. But apart from all the things, they are readily installing CCTV cameras, giving Wi-Fi's, public Wi-Fi's, right? And that also generates what? Big data. And who consumes big data? The folks in Silicon Valley. So, as a part of governance, yes. Yes.
So, can you say that it has the power to topple the authoritarian government in China? And can it pave the way for democratic government in China?
That's a very good question. We can come back later. We can have, yeah. Yes. And I think that's a, indeed a very good question here. Because I've been a student of, comparative politics for a very long time, and democratization is my pet subject. So we will definitely discuss that. But yeah, technology as a disruptor definitely has a role to play. But I will discuss that further, given a context of how AI and technological prowess have shaped China there. So we look for technology or AI as more efficient, seamless, and quick as one of the goal of artificial intelligence. However, but they can also influence discrimination. They say that with the evolution of technology, there is that everybody is same, equal. It has led to democratization. Now, when we say democratization, I'm using that in a loaded way. Like every citizen, whether rich, poor, he, she, they, everybody have that. But does it really lead to that democratization? I think instances like in India, it has helped many a times, but many a times in countries like in Africa, it does not have that ramifications. So therefore, in a city's fabric, these effects cannot be easily displaced, these discriminations and all. Still, there is discrimination, right? Because the political economy of artificial intelligence or big data politics does not allow you to do that, yeah? And it also depends on the context. What context, what kind of political system are you in? Are you in democracy, authoritarian party states, or are you in monarchy? Because these big data also has that role to play there. Yeah. So healthcare, now stakeholders are who here? Stakeholders are us patients, parents, health companies, health tech companies. Yeah. So even in the health today, we see surge, and every hospital you visit in Hyderabad, like I visit a couple of them doing my interviews and all, I see a lot. They have in their website also, I go and see their websites, AI-driven consultancies. And sometimes even today you have bots. When you have any queries, earlier times you had what? You had customer care service provider, a man or a woman on the other side. Today it is mostly chatbots. Now what are chatbots? These are also AI-driven. Right? And many times we get frustrated interacting with that mechanical person there on the other side. Right? So optimization of individual diagnosis and treatment to health monitoring are important aspects of use of AI. But at the same time, today everybody likes wearing smartwatches, right? Smartwatches is good, but it generates a lot of data unlike analog watches, right? You are feeding into your system, whether you're having a Xiaomi, MI, iWatch or Samsung, everything. It generates so much of data. Your heartbeat is going there, and your insurance wallahs know that how much are you eating right food or not. And your premium goes up. It is convenient to measure. It helps you to monitor your health. But at the same time, it's also creating costs, right? Even if you want to hide, your device won't let you hide. Because it's all generating data. And how much, and thanks to, a lot of insurance companies have mushroomed in India. And also thanks to what neoliberal policies have shaped, that privatization is good. So you have more insurance companies after us, we as consumers. So therefore, if you have to look at AI regulations and framework, is very important. And unfortunately in India, we are still in a very nascent stage of AI regulation. Today, there are 3 frameworks. One is the American framework, which is very decentralized. It actually tells the companies that you should be strict, transparent, and also it's, voluntary. But you have also the EU AI Act. Actually, that's the most stringent, and that was passed in 2024. And that is why many of these silicon companies have issues with regard to European Union AI Act and all, because it's very strict. It can say, okay, Facebook, you can go out of our territory. But in India, we don't have. And there is one China model here. China doesn't have an AI law, but it has a bunch of laws. And it draws on from them which act will come after us or the citizens. Is different. So there are a bunch, and they're still making. However, one important aspect here in the Chinese is the ideological is very important there. And you must be knowing what I say ideology here. You should be closer to the establishment. Anything against the establishment can draw criticism, and you might be asked to come for tea. And content management. Now, content management, in China, that's what I'm invoking China a lot here, because that is one model which India as a country should never emulate. There, even deepfakes, if created, they will know who created the first one. They will warn you. If not, they will ask you to come over. So content management, that is why in China, when you see make any cartoons of leaders there, mostly those cartoons are made by foreigners or Chinese based abroad. And even if it's circulated in China, within a couple of days it's shut. Thanks to the Chinese Great Wall, they say, firewall. Yeah. That's also an AI. Yeah.
Sir, in Manipur riots, so completely it was enlightened by deepfakes. Many deepfakes were circulated, but Indian government, they were unable to get even after weeks and months.
That is why in India, what we see is that the rules have not been really come. Now, thing is that because, and also at the same time, many of these companies are silicon-based companies. And we don't have, the server is based outside. And if one gets to it, and in China, you don't have, because there is no Facebook there. I, as a student, when I was studying, Facebook was there, but you know, when you want to talk to your parents, you log in now. After like 1 hour, you get to know, and they know that you are a foreigner. That's what they will help you to talk to your parents. If you're not a foreigner, they will come after. So my Chinese friends used to make friends on Facebook using my name, like near me. So they don't have, like they don't have Twitter. But the Sarkari Babus have Twitter accounts and all, because they have to do Twitter diplomacy, or you must have heard about wolf warrior diplomacy, right? In the post-Galwan 2020. You have that in here. So that is what, we don't have a singular framework. Now it's still nascent stage, and Indian policymakers are trying to really look into these two frameworks to engage how to regulate AI and generate. So tomorrow, and AI as a positive has to also lead to conflict resolution, not to create conflicts, right? So it becomes important for us really to, whether our data is being generated or monetized or weaponized by some multinational company based in San Francisco there. So surveillance, therefore, becomes very important. One of these areas of concern today in liberal democracies, also in other party systems also. Reliance on big data becomes so important. So every day we are actually, as a consumer of, or as a consumer of smart devices, we are generating big data. We can't say, okay, I want to hide this. I don't want to show this on WhatsApp or on Facebook, but you are still hiding that. It's still in that. Public-private partnerships becomes very important here, because a lot of these AI companies are not Sarkaris, are not government owned. So these are all privately owned. So when you lose things, you go and work with the system there. Even the private companies have to go and approach. But at the same time, the negotiations are different there. How do these two, both the public institutions and private parties, engage and come with this regulation, surveillance regulations with regard to AI is an important aspect that one has to. And alignment with existing political structures or choices becomes important here. So why is government surveilling? Why does the government want to? And mind you, government across the systems, across the globe, seeks power. Whether it's liberal democracies, Western, so-called the oldest democracy, or the British system, the parliamentary system, brags itself as the world civilizational, idea, or party states like China. They love control. Surveillance is an area that one. Even surveillance, you don't have to send persons to surveil on you. There are so many softwares that can surveil on you. We sometimes, that is why we are actually, we become victims of a lot of digital arrests today. Because it is of that. And also political structures here. So, as I said before, political structures across the globe want it. So therefore, Who watches the watchtowers now? The regulations there are, the 3 regulations. So many a times, these artificial intelligence data created can be used and misused. Now, it is with the private entities. And mind you, if you read news every time, like a couple of months, there are some surveys being done, and so much, like recently, I don't know, I won't name one of these insurance companies, insurance corporations in India. I think more than, 5 crores, 50 million means 5 crores, right? Subscribers' details were being sold. Now, mind you, how many disease informations are there with them? Now, if he or she wants to port that policy with other company, you have to burn your pocket, your savings, isn't it? So how are these being done? It could be a malfeasance done by the persons or individual who is not satisfied with the work, or it could be malicious program generated through artificial intelligence also. Yeah? Weaponization by private entities. With competitive economic scenarios, you can see, and there are limited number of subscribers. So everybody wants to, compete or gain your attention. So this could also lead to that. So therefore, ethics, need for AI governance is very important. Therefore, those 3 frameworks are one of the models that one has to look at. However, the ethics part and this freedom, I didn't write liberty here, but freedom is an important aspect one has to look at. Challenges, there are plethora. There are positives about AI with regard to public policy. Whether it led to elections. They say that there are some studies by VDEM reports on how AI has succeeded in minimizing costs of elections. Because you don't have to send people now to go and vote for you. You release deepfake and ask for election. Even there is transparency in this. But at the same time, in a polarized society, it could lead to more conflicts, more polarization, right? Rather than bringing to. So it can be used for winning elections. Okay, in democracy, winning elections is one of the variables of measuring democracy. But it is not just that winning elections. There are also other substantive issues. So will that AI help us to solve those substantive issues like equality, freedom, etc. So democracy is not just procedures like winning elections, going to vote and all, but it is also substantive. So AI lead to that. Thank you, and I'll have more Q&A here, because I think I'm giving examples of China here because we, as a consumer of artificial intelligence technology and all, we can engage with. And please feel free to ask any questions with regard to these. Yes. Yeah.
What is your opinion about the recent Golgotha's issue that happened in the International Summit, where an educational institution defeated some other country's technology as ours?
Yes. Yeah, actually, very important. I anticipated that question because one of my friends was also visiting, that AI, conference there. And not just the AI, the device that was brought from China, right? And it is said that they had spent quite a money in buying that. And now, there are 2 aspects about it, and one is embracing of that technology. Golgotha did a good thing, I would say, embracing that. Okay, they want to aspire to, but embracing and then making it as yours is something not ethical there. You can appreciate that your university, we are going to be one of the pioneering institutions to do that. But many a times, it doesn't lead to good political outcomes or, optics also. And I think thanks it lost its plot there, I would say. And, buying it from China, no problem. Even Wipro, I think, bought it. But Wipro didn't say, okay, it's manufactured in Wipro campus. So, because that is what, and mind you, nobody can believe, because if they manufactured it, it would have been a big news in the country. Only in the AI we got to know that was brought. And the logo and all, if you look at it, it is all, and I was trying to do analysis of that symbol, and it's all made in China. And today we can't hide. And you don't have to search. It's just that you take a picture and try to analyze it. And today in Twitter also, there are a lot of deepfakes, and people like, what you say that there are some people who are dedicated in finding, identifying those deepfakes and all, right? So it has become a task for itself. However, AI can also help to identify those deepfakes. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very difficult. Yeah.
The existing political system help us in advancing towards the AI race that the world, countries all over the world.
Yeah. So you mean to say our country?
Yeah. The political systems in our country.
Yeah.
They help the educational institutions or industry or the research organizations to fall in line in the race.
Oh, okay. To be competitive in the world. Yeah. I think we are. I won't say we are not doing it, but we are not adequately doing it. Because the campus I visited in Shanghai, and just say, when you make something, they love to show it. And we as Indians, they love foreigners to show and tell the message that the Chinese are doing this. Only thing was that we couldn't take pictures. But I remember those vividly, how the AI is helping them out. And mind you that robots and, AI, dogs or what you say, I think we are lagging behind. I think we haven't lost the plot yet, but we are not sufficiently, I think, investing in that path. But nonetheless, we are doing it, I would say. And I think AI, this summit has really put a thrust on certain sectors, because there are many other sectors also who are doing very good ones. And I think it has brought them I think it has exposed them and given more exposition to their technologies. And I hope in future, I think we can. But I think we have to be more, the public policy, the politicians and leaders should push it furthermore in this respect.
Mostly with the discussion.
Yes.
So like when China had to do that so much of the technological change.
Yes.
Do you think that was only the investment or whatever we're talking about in terms of lacking, that India is lacking?
Yes.
Does that come from the individuals, or do you think it's more of the political policy reform that has actually happened? Because we can clearly see the data is the thing that can have the power in today's world.
Exactly.
And we know India has the power, people, demand and everything, but still that's not happening in India. So when we look at the China, they have their own navigators, they have their own search engines, everything.
Yes.
So the question I'm asking is it the individual thing or the political reforms that we...
Actually, in China, it is, if I have to go down to history, in the 70s, they talked about 4 modernization projects. One is agriculture, industry, science and technology, and defense. They have called in the 1970s only, I think after Mao died. And it was Zhou Enlai who gave that, The 5th modernization was democracy. They never touched that. They touched all the 4, but not electoral democracy. And therefore, this question, and you're absolutely right. So this so-called the 3rd modernization with regard to science and technology has today led to innovation. And in the 70s, when the economic reforms happened, the late 70s, the economic reforms, the reforms and open door that they talk about, has unleashed scientific innovations in China. And today, Mr. Xi, the president, only talks about innovation. Now, in India, we had Make in India, China had Make in China 2025. Now the 14th five-year plan has come, and they are actually having a parliamentary discussion until 13. As I see our 5-day workshop dates, it is from 9 to 13. They are also having a parliamentary session in China, and they're discussing with regard. And the innovation in China is state-driven, definitely. It is state-driven, and the GDP spent on innovation is humongous. I think per capita, you could see one of the highest in the world, and it has surpassed even America, per capita investments on innovation. And today, thanks to Trump's, racist immigration policy, many of the Chinese are coming back to China. Like so far, Stanford professors who have actually designed American innovation clusters and all, today they're going back to China. Have we been able to attract our Silicon Valley bosses? Satya Nadella, he's from the state, right? Hyderabad. And also the Google boss. Have we been able to? Now, it's not a rhetoric, it's just like, have you been, foresighted to really engage with them? We have been their bosses there. And the Chinese are, if you compare again, Chinese, they don't become bosses in America. We have more Indian, bosses in multinational companies or Fortune 5. Chinese are not. But when they come back to China, they have the number of unicorn companies today in China. Now, as an Indian, when I go to China or, especially China, I have to carry 2 phones. Because one phone, the other phone, if I install Chinese apps, again I have to uninstall it here. Rather, I make 2. I carry one for India and one for China, because in China, everything has to be with the Chinese apps. You have to use like GPay we use here. They have their own Alipay, others. Even you have Rapido here, Ola there, they have their own TT. Whether it's full. So you can't do that. So they have their own ecosystem there. It's a parallel ecosystem. And that is driven by the state and the leaders also.
So why are we massively failing in India? I mean, is it the imperial context where we were already heavily dependent on the Western countries? Or?
Actually, when you say imperial, if you're invoking English as a language,
Has given the advantage again.
Yeah, so that's what we can't actually use it this way. But if you have to again go and see our Indian people, folks there, engineers there, why can't they do it here, right? I think what I see is China started to modernize in the 80s, early 80s. We came only back in after 10 years after. So they did their primary stuff long time ago, like primary manufacturing and all. Now, we lost the plot many times. Yeah, I hope I can't give a perfect answer, but, there is so much of layered, contextual.
I mean, I always feel, unlike many other countries, like the East Asian countries and China, they have done the massive and drastic political reforms before, they have got the
When you say political reforms, what reforms are you saying?
Economic also.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to have that happen, for economic reforms to happen, and before we have to have the political reforms.
Actually, before I come to you, sir, in 1978, they wanted to do both reforms, but not the 5th modernization project, that was democracy. But 1989, you had this Tiananmen crisis, right? And they wanted to reform. They wanted to separate the party and the state. But in Tiananmen crisis, they said no political reforms, no separation. But rather we'll have division of labor between the party and the state. No separation. And they also learned the lesson from Soviet Union. we have to reform economic first, not glasnost and perestroika together. So let's open up, but economy first. So therefore, economic modernization took shape very fast. Today, and thanks to 2003 rechurning of the constitution there, they say that even once upon a time so-called class enemies, like us, right? Like educated, intellectual, property class are class enemies in the communist lexicon. But in 2003, they said, no, you guys are not class enemies. You guys are advanced productive forces. Now, when you say advanced productive forces, what do you mean? The party is co-opting us. So we are also equally considered as the important bulwarks against, not against the party, but against the poverty of what China was facing then. So we should be co-opted. So that is why today, if you see the number of politicians who have property, educated in Ivy Leagues, English educated, almost in Central Committee you can find at least 40% of them who have money. But money can be through corruption also in China, and they are facing a lot of issues. But nonetheless, it has embraced capitalism. That is why you have socialism with Chinese characteristics now. What do you mean by that? So you have that aspect also. So therefore, political reforms, yes, certain extent. But from 1989 onwards, they are very shy. Let's don't go down that path. So Xi Jinping again today has brought everything under him. So because with the help of AI, surveillance and all, today he has become very powerful now. And he has weaponized that a lot, because recently one of the military generals, number 2 in the party, was purged because they were good friends until yesterday. Today, he purged. So that's what. Yes, sir. Sorry. Yeah. Yes.
There are some serious allegations regarding the tampering of EVMs in Abhiyan.
Yes.
Right question. You asked. That is
How
also
do you think that
involved.
artificial intelligence, do you think that artificial intelligence AI can solve that problem? Because the opposition is coming up with some serious evidence, with valid evidences regarding, you may not have heard of virtual. There are serious allegations, but the Election Commission of India just, they are not able to give proper answers or justifying what they stand, what's their stand is. So, do you think what do you think is the problem, and how the AI can put an end to this problem of vote chori or this tampering of EVMs? Because the evidences they are showing are very much there. One-sided elections, one-sided results.
Yeah.
Many analysts, some not neutral people,
Yes.
those who are not having any connections with any political party, they are coming up with some data which is given by the Election Commission itself. There are some serious, what you can see, the differences in the data.
Yeah. Yeah.
Polled at 5 p.m. and then the polling stopped the next day or the counting day. There is some very sharp increase, particularly favoring one political party which is winning with huge margins.
Yeah, yeah.
Going to power. Do you think AI can solve this problem?
I think that is.
Already that program done again.
No?
So I think
Only a PhD.
I think the evolution of AI in India is still nascent. I'm not sure. Now, what the thing is, I'm not sure if, it really led to that, if AI had done it. Because in India, if you see the AI infrastructure, it is evolving, right? So I don't know, with regard to dates, times and all that, I'm not, aware, and I don't want to comment on that aspect. Yeah, but with regard to the issues raised by you, sir, and if AI can solve that, yes, it can solve. But that's our ecosystem is not as advanced, and I think we should not go that way also. Therefore, we will become like China. That it should be ideologically fitting to AI, it should be a communist AI or a or very liberally. So and it becomes a problem therefore. So nobody will win tomorrow, like us who wants to contest elections as an independent candidate will never. So I think the infrastructure in India is still evolving. So that is why we don't have a framework, so to say also. So we are trying to see some framework from Europe, and a lawyer friend of mine who works on AI and these laws and all, she tells me that it is evolving, but it's not robust yet. So there are laws being passed, like IT Act, Social Media Regulation Act recently. Now, how far will these really tackle the problem as we are facing with regard to certain controversial issues, if we have to say, is still to be. So that is why I think, although there is big data, there are pictures being shown and all, but so who's verifying that? So who will watch the watchtower? So that again comes back to us and haunts us, right? So I think the infrastructure is not yet. So that is why, many a times we don't get to know what the real thing has happened also.
The Election Commission is not ready to accept its own data. That is the sad part of it.
Yeah.
It has given the data, now they're showing the anomalies. It is not able to test.
Yeah.
The results are there to be seen.
So I think that is the charm of democracy also. So if it was in Xi Jinping's period, so it becomes a problem there. Yes.
You said that India has launched Make in India policy. Is it really going in the right direction to make our economy or increase our efficiency? People work over here. Does it still need to be?
I think with regard to Make in India, it was the campaign was well intentioned.
But the implementation part.
The implementation, I think we have lost the plot. I think we are losing the plot because, and also with regard to when we discuss about Make in India, we have to also see what aspects were we really focusing on. Were we looking at a primary sector, secondary sector of the economy, or the most advanced one? Now, innovation is a very high-tech driven, and mostly we get this from China. But today we have to really look at Make in India programs and all we could see at the secondary and the primary level, right? So, and definitely it has to be in the secondary and primary because it gives more employment. But it has not. Yeah? So that is where and that is why manufacturing, I think, in India should be there. Although it will cost us environmentally and all, but nonetheless, I think there are ample areas where we can improve ourselves and learn the lessons that we have, where we have faltered here. So the AI definitely, and mind you, now we are always talking AI, but AI shouldn't be looked at as one monolith. It has many ramifications because it leads to political issues, social, economic, our well-being as well. So where are we really looking at? So therefore, the governance becomes very important in AI as well. And it's not just good governance, but also how AI can lead us to healthy, efficient, and ethical governance. I think that. But yeah, I think the question is.
The paper revealed that
Yes.
the primary drawback of making India, the primary thing is lack of skill in the labor. Whereas in South Korea, China, more than 90 to 95% of the labor force, they have formal training. Whereas in India, even though some kind of training was initiated by government under different schemes,
Yes.
most of them didn't need proper results.
That is actually us, we as teachers here also. Once upon a time, I was asked by my teacher to, why don't you go for a vocational education? In India, vocational education is looked down upon. And I remember as a student of political, when I was doing my PhD there in Delhi, so we had a conference on vocational education comparing India and China. And today what China is so strong thanks to vocational education. And they also have 9 years of compulsory education. We also have that. But after that, we always send our kids to, STEM subjects. By hook and crook, you have to. Later on, if you don't like it, don't do. But high school, you have to do that. And many a times, I see some students in the university who have done, who are from IITs. They don't like in IITs and they come and do sociology honors, political honors and all that. But in China, it's not that. So vocational education is more sought after. And now that is where the formal training happens. And the SMEs that we talk in India, in there it is called village and township industries. The provinces like Jiangsu, the coastal provinces, thanks to this vocational education who have been trained in hinterland provinces, and bang comes economic reforms, all these guys are ready to be technicians, engineers in these. It has helped so much. And many countries like Japan and South Korea benefited from such structures. Also, the other is with regard to their cultural affinity. One of the problems with the Chinese and Taiwanese, when we meet, they say that they don't understand Indian working culture. That is what they say. So likewise, so you see those aspects of it. So yeah, so I think even in artificial intelligence today, now thanks to DeepSeek that they created, yeah, one of the cheapest ones, and that created resonance across the globe now. Now ChatGPT's prices went down 10, I think. One creates DeepSeek AI within like less than 500 million. And NVIDIA's and ChatGPT's, their OpenAI, they has more than like billions and billions of market capitalization went off. Thanks to how they can really do that. And that comes from the way they were taught actually in schools and all. Reverse engineering is one of the most, they have learned that way. And mind you, even in technology and other aspects, the Chinese have always looked at the West like us. It's not that they didn't look at the West. They always looked at the West. It is, we become naive if we say that, okay, Chinese were self-dependent. They were hardworking guys, but they looked at the West and they copied the best. And they brought in. And they experimented, they reverse engineered. That is why, any flights, like whether it's F-16 or something, crashes down in Islamabad or when so they make it a point that all of them have to be taken back to states. If the Chinese get that, they will learn, read, and they will improvise more better F-35s, right? So that is what they have, and DeepSeek did that. And it showed the world that these guys are really serious. And we can't take lightly.
People usually think that engineering is the base for innovation.
Yes.
So is reverse engineering.
Yes.
If at all something fails at some stage, we need to do reverse engineering to find where we went wrong.
We like, yeah, absolutely.
So has India realized, and its public administration policy, is it in that direction at least now?
With regard to reverse engineering and
Thought.
I think,
Especially the rendering of education in India from primary state.
I think the spirit is there. If I see the NEP has really made us to do a lot of things, and I think delegates here also are doing implementing NEP, right?
Yes, but with the inception of AI, most of the intellectuals are saying that one cannot survive with a single specialized subject knowledge.
Exactly.
And definitely people would require knowledge in multiple subjects.
Yes.
With the inception of AI.
Yeah.
In such case, how would NEP facilitate? Because it is encouraging specialization in only one subject, primarily.
True. So that is what actually mine was a rhetorical, engagement. Because with regard to NEP, and if you look at, aspects of that, we are really as policymakers do realize it. But At the same time also, I think there has not been sufficient push by the citizens also. Because if you see a number of private universities that have come up across, like many of these Ivy Leagues have campuses in India. Now, why are they opening shops? I would say shops in India. Because it has a different clientele here. Now, if you have to see some of good liberal colleges in the country, they have been rather been training ground for sending kids to Ivy Leagues in the West. And so do you think that they will come back after they go? It becomes so difficult. So that is why with regard to AI, artificial intelligence and all, if you come back and see the role it has played, definitely it is good in giving you suggestions, lot of things and all. But ultimately it's the human intelligence that should engage with, right? Not the machine learning. It has certain, yeah, definitely like routine matters, it is very good because it's generative AI. So routine matters, it is best in solving issues. But innovatively, something out of a box, I think it's still, that AI has not reached that stage, I guess. I think it's still learning. But nonetheless, I think it has helped us a lot of things, especially as educated people. When we Google or when we use ChatGPT, it gives us summaries of a lot of things. But we also know what not to read, what to read on what generative AI. It also depends on algorithms. What are you, because you are leaving digital footprints there. It will tailor to our taste and our choices also. So in China, therefore, you can't use Google. So it will only give the Chinese version of AI. If you type Dalai Lama there, he will be seen as terrorist. But in Google here, if you say Dalai Lama, he's a leader, religious leader, a guest of India. So he's seen as secessionist in China. But here, it's different. So they have an alternate universe. And you are absolutely right, the data that, so that is why many of the Chinese companies operating once upon a time in India, like TikTok, we Indians love TikTok, Reels and all. Now, who are these guys? The TikTok companies are based in China. The server is there. They all take our stuff. And they know how to... Sikkim, Chinese are not allowed to come. But the best toys of Sikkim are coming from China. It's made in China. And I tell the shopkeeper, just say, I read Chinese, so it's made in Chinese. So, no, sir, we don't know. We brought it from, Calcutta port because it comes all the way from Calcutta. So thanks to the engineering, today we leave a lot of digital footprints on Facebook. So that is how it's generative AI and aspects that have really affected our engagement. And that is why political structure, ideologies today, it doesn't matter. Because they know what we are doing. It's just the naiveness that we have, or that they have, is that we don't question each other on that aspect. Yeah, but I'm quite shocked that they are more informed about India or my state than any other, themselves also many times. Yes.
Most of the Indians, we don't even know the names of the provinces in China. Whereas Chinese people, they know each nook and corner of India.
Yes. Yeah, they do. So yeah, it is, and in India we are still, so that is why I think we are not yet robust, but I think the spirit is on. Yeah.
Coming back to the same question. So why are we losing the power? I mean, why is India not able to capture the power? Is it because of the internal democratic system that we are in there?
No.
I mean, because when we're talking about all these systems where China to power and all, there was a clear trade-off between individual freedom and how state God is reformed. Right? Don't you think there is just...
Yeah, there is a lot of discussion with regard to, the trade-offs, as you said, between democracy and authoritarian, if I have to say, right? So, but in China, we have to really go and see the when people, I would say, we have to see the relations of what is individual versus the land there. Why are policies, certain projects take off so easily in China, so fast in China? It is all because the land is owned by the state. If you want to open a factory, you will get lease only for 30 years. If you want to open a school, you can only get for 40 years. If you want to open, start an apartment like Aparna, you will only get for 50 years. You are a permanent lessee of the state. Here, we have private ownership, which we treasure that, right? So that is one. The other aspect is, with regard to policies, the coordination in China is quite robust. Like if we have to really engage with you, with regard to WTO, China became member of WTO only in 2001, but the negotiating person for the WTO was in that office for 16 years. But here, since we have a revolving bureaucracy, so which is a good thing, because in China they become because it's a party state, so you'll create a power base, which can become detrimental to the state, right, to the leadership, which is that also is an issue there. But nonetheless, that gentleman was there until China became member of WTO, he was there for 16 years and he knew how to negotiate. But here, every 5 years we have regime changes, which is a good thing, because the new thing comes. But at the same time, you cannot throw, baby with the bathwater, right? Certain things have to be, yes. So, country like China has evolved, and that is why model of AI model, whether it's Chinese, whether it's European, or whether it is the US model. I think as an India, as a consumer, and as as a state with so much of data, I think the model has to be it should be an eclectic model, not extremes of going the China way or going very extreme the US way, because our institutions are not designed that way. Because in China, many of these AI laws are framed by the states. But in India, it cannot be that, because many of the states doesn't have that capacity to do that. So it becomes that, and I think an issue, yeah. Any questions? We are discussing more on comparative politics, engaging technology, but yeah, it really resonates also to the current discussion around the technological ecosystem also. Because why they did better, so how are they coming with new laws and all that, actually has a role to play in everyday politics also. And because China doesn't spend money on elections, we do, right? But they share a lot of money with regard to showcasing what China is. And recently, in the New Year's, they made AI, they released drones, and made the lights in the sky and all. And that, many of things are being done in that way, and India is not far behind. I saw in my state also they tried to do that, but they lost a lot of money there. So yeah, so it happens. Yes. So if there are no questions, I hope I made sense, and thank you for listening to me. And I teach comparative politics, but this is a new domain that I'm really interested in, and I keep on reading on how China is doing, and so how Superpower, that the book that I reviewed for my some journal, and also telling my students to read, because it is an evolving discipline and a domain, and global politics definitely tomorrow will be shaped by AI. I hope not our health though, and our education and all. Yeah, thank you all. And it was great to meet you all I'm Bhim Subba and I am from Sikkim and I've joined here in 2020. I'm a COVID batch here. So I'll tell myself as a COVID batch. And yeah, so thank you. Thank you. How long does it stay? It is a battery.
Battery is chargeable.
Oh.
Stays for a while.
Now, there are assignment which